Welcome to Explorations 2023. The words of Catherine Whitehall ring true today. Find out what you like doing best and get someone to pay you for doing it. I'm sure that some of you students have already set your mind on what you'd like to pursue as a career, whereas there are a few of you who are still exploring your options before you make a decision. Irrespective, hearing from experts in various fields always gives us perspective and helps us broaden our horizons and understand more about the working world and the way it works. Today, we have in our midst 4 renowned speakers who will give you an insight into their respective fields. Without further ado, do put your hands together for our first speaker for the afternoon, Mr. Karan Bajaj. 21,000 crore in the fastest startup exit of its size in India. Within 18 months of its inception, the company created 17,000 new jobs in India with its first to the world live coding learning model, connecting global students to Indian teachers. A graduate of IIM Bangalore, Mr. Bajaj has earlier served as the general manager and head of Discovery Inc. South Asia. He also held progressive leadership positions for P&G, BCG and Kraft Foods Group in India and the US. Mr. Bajaj is a best-selling novelist whose books have sold more than 200,000 copies in India and optioned for movie deals. Keep Off the Grass, Johnny Gone Down, The Seeker, The Yoga of Max's Discontent and The Freedom Manifesto, published by HarperCollins and Penguin Random House. Karan, in his newly published bestseller, The Freedom Manifesto, by HarperCollins India, speaks on startup, meditation and life. So start one's journey of freedom and impact today. He is currently the special advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister of Goa. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do put your hands together and warmly welcome him.
Pleasure to be here. My kids don't go to Gera, but I'm delighted that a school of this quality exists in Goa. It's a wonderful school and I'm very happy that you are getting the privilege of such a great education. I will talk in a few minutes about what I do now, because that was what I was asked to do, and a little bit about my career journey and some learnings. I was reflecting this morning on what I wished I would have known if I was in 10th grade, so I share some learnings of that also. So hopefully this will be useful. As of today, or as of now, who can tell me the name of the Chief Minister of Goa? Oh, wonderful. I'm happy at least 5, 7, 10. Oh, great. Can you throw out the name? Yes, wonderful. So right now I work for the Honorable Chief Minister of Goa, which is Dr. Pramod Sawant. And I work as his advisor and I work on things that I'm very passionate about, which is how to turn Goa fully renewable, use renewable energy as our core source in Goa and not do any fossil fuels anymore, how to do digital introduction for everybody, for all the graduates who are graduating out of Goa. So a bunch of projects in the public domain. So what I would call this, or this sector would be called as a development or a non-profit sector overall, and so I'm working for the government in that capacity and also doing more work on my own side of the non-profit or the development space. I can answer questions about that sector in our Q&A, but I thought more importantly I'll give a journey of how I came here, because I think one of the learnings which I have in the next slide are, I wish in 10th grade I knew that you will not have one career, you will have many careers in your life, right? So I think at least at that time we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to know exactly which career you would have. But I learned that there were many careers, and I think before this particular career which I'm doing now on the development or the impact side, I've had, I would say, 3 careers before that, full careers before that. And I'll talk a little bit about them, right? So when I started out of engineering college and then business school at IIM, I pursued a corporate career for a good part of like a decade or more. And how many of you watched the Discovery Channel? Yeah, so, oh great. Now, so more people watch the Discovery Channel than know the Chief Minister. What to make of that? That seems like a good factor. So I did a bunch of jobs and moved up before I was the CEO of the Discovery Channel in India. which runs a bunch of channels called Discovery, Animal Planet, TLC, Discovery Kids. And what we do in this is I used to produce television shows or greenlight or sign checks for producers who wanted to make shows and make sure that the business was running well in terms of being distributed, etc. So I did that that was my last kind of corporate career. Parallel to my corporate career, for almost the entire period of my corporate career of 15 years, I was writing novels on the side, fiction novels on the side. And some of them were published and did well, some of them didn't do well, but I wrote about four novels in the 15 to 17 year period. I'm saying that because we will talk a little bit about that, but it's also interesting that you can pursue a full creative career while also having a professional career. You don't need to necessarily choose between art and business as I used to worry about, because I used to like the creative side, and at that time in India everybody was obviously wanting to get into engineering and I didn't think that would be my life, but I knew that I had to do it, and I would always think that what would happen. But I realized that there is actually a way to pursue both and do it reasonably well. So in parallel to my discovery career, or my corporate career, I kept writing novels in India, a couple of them which have been signed into movie deals in India and the US. Then I left that in 2018, which is about 4 years ago now, and I did my own technology startup. I hope I get at least one hand. Did anybody use Whitehead Junior at all? Oh, wonderful. I'm very happy. Okay, a little bit more than somewhere in the middle of Discovery. Not as many as who watch Discovery Channel, but yes, so I started a company called Whitehead Junior, which I led from start and scaled it, and then eventually it got acquired by Byju's, and after that I moved to the development center in the last year. So what are my learnings from this? What I wish I knew in grade 10 is how I thought about it. First is that you'll have many careers. And that's a great part, right? You don't have to, I think you have to make the choice of what's good for me now, rather than what's going to be good for me forever. And that's a great thing, right? And I think that's one of my learnings I wish I knew then, that there's no great burden to know everything right now. The second learning, which is a bit surprising as I reflect, is we were always told to be 100% good at one thing, right? So, like if you're good at maths, right, become like the top IIT engineer and have a great career as an engineer, or this is good that I am. People who love banking, we thought that okay, you'll always be an investment banker or always and I think that's the right path for some people who know their destiny. I think there's another path which is to be 75% good at two things, is how I think of it, right? Which is if you're able to combine your interests in multiple things, you end up creating your own kind of career path. So for example, when Discovery was looking for a CEO in India, they were very interested in my background because I had a business career and I was writing novels on the side, and they wanted somebody to run a TV channel who knew both the creative and the business side. So that was a role that they could only find for very, very few people. And then when I started my own company, I realized that my novel writing days probably helped with the tech startup much more than my business days in some ways, because when you write a novel for the first time, you're sitting with a blank page and you have a kind of a vision that one day this will turn into a book. I can turn it into a book which somebody will read, and hopefully a publisher will publish, and hopefully someone will sell. And you need to have that faith in yourself and continue going for years without having any outcome. And a startup is very similar, right? On the first day you come, you're like, oh my goodness, how will I create a company? Like, I don't even know how to code, how will I create a company out of this whole thing? And then you just have to have the faith that if you come in every day and keep doing it for a period of time, it will turn into something. So I feel that if you can do, if you are good at a couple of things, later in your life you'll start combining them in very interesting ways that nobody else can. And that is a very good model for success versus I'm going to own, versus the other model which also works very well, which is I'm the best engineer in the world and become 100% good at one thing. So if you can choose a right-brain activity, in my opinion, like writing, creating a YouTube channel, making music, and don't put the burden of that becoming your career, but it becomes a part of your life, you realize that in very interesting ways it will come into your other part of your life, and you'll start to create very interesting combinations of your own. So I wish I knew that then. I always thought it was an either or. For almost all my life I kept thinking even when my novels were being published, I always thought, should I leave my job to become a writer? That was almost a conflict for a decade of my life, and I now realize that you can be good at two things and start combining it in your own unique ways. Create things early. I think that is probably my biggest regret. I wrote my first novel at age 28. That was the time I really felt my life started to change, because the moment you do your first creative activity, you'll truly transform as a person. And when I mean a creative activity, obviously it's an activity with a defined output, like a novel or a music album or a YouTube channel, which is being put into the public domain for people to react to, so that their reaction makes the product better and you better in the process. So there are many, many aspects to it without going into too much detail on just this aspect. But if you are a grade 6 now, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, 10, start creating something, you realize it's the most transformative thing that you can do with your life, because slowly that will lead to, you realize that you put everything of your life into that, and then you do something else again, which will be even more profound, and one day you write a book or create a company or do other things. So I wish I started to create things early in my life. I think many of you might be interested in startups. The wonderful thing I learned is that startup is not coding, although I started a coding for this company, but the idea of it always was that really what a startup does, it solves a problem that matters, right? And if you solve a problem that matters, you'll be able to create a good company. That's the hard part in a startup. When people thought coding for kids, I was solving a different problem. I was solving a problem that grade 1 to 5 kids did not have good hobby or creative activities, and I was solving that kind of a problem, which made sense to me at that point in time. But startups are not about knowing coding. I never knew coding. It's about solving the problem, and if you're just having a lot of experiences in your life, at some point you'll end up doing maybe a startup, because if you have a lot of experiences in life, you'll be exposed to a lot of problems, and one day you want to solve a problem for yourself, and you'll end up creating a company. So actually, I felt the startup is actually not correlated to coding as much as it's correlated to living a very experience-filled life and knowing a lot of problems as you start discovering them around you. And then finally, this is also an important learning. I actually think your college brand matters. I won't be a person who says that IIT, IIM, your company name doesn't matter. It actually matters a lot, whether you went to these colleges. But there's also a very true point, which is that your life gives you many, many second chances. If you don't get into IIT or whatever, Harvard, you have another chance after that to get into a business school. If you don't get into a business school, you start a job, maybe not the most branded name, but you get another chance after that to shift to a more branded name. Life keeps giving you second, third, fourth chances, and it's never, it matters, but it doesn't matter to the degree we thought it mattered. Like for example, I did go to IIT and do Birla Institute of Technology, which was not as good as an IIT, but then I got to IIM. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. You will get many chances at doing excellent things if you are worthy of doing excellent things, and that's more important, right? I think that's all I had to share. It's been a delight.
For that fantastic session and your eye-opening insights. I'm sure our students have a few questions on their minds and would love to clarify their thoughts. So audience, if you have any questions, do raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you so that you can share your question with Mr. Bajaj.
At a young age, what did you do differently? At a young age, what did you do differently from your opponents and competitors?
I'll give a bit of a nuanced answer to that question, if I may. My wife is actually an American, she's not Indian, and I saw very interesting thing happen, right? When we were growing up in India at that time, we were just single-mindedly told to be the best in our studies so that we could get into the best colleges, and I did that, right? I was working very hard. I was always like the top people in my class, graduated, and did that, right? I saw an interesting dynamic happen with for example, my wife grew up in the US, and what I saw with all of the peers are, they had a lot of independence in that time frame, right, to make their choices, right? Nobody told them to go to engineering college, etc. My wife studied liberal arts, as many people do. The reason I'm saying that is that both paths are actually quite okay. What I learned was that our path, where we were just told to be very good and exceptional at our academics, was actually not a bad path. We learned to be excellent at one thing, get into a good college, prepare our mind to then take chances to leave our jobs to travel, write novels, etc. That happened later in our lives. What I saw with my wife's colleagues is that they spent their 20s kind of drifting, trying to find the right path for them, and eventually both ended up in the same place. So I don't know how to answer your question. I think use your instinct. If you're really good at academics and really want to be the best in what you're doing, that's great. You'll find your own path to, your creative dreams later or at some point of time. And if you are a person who's not, particularly inclined towards that, that's also okay. You'll find your own kind of drifting path with your own, journey. So I think both are fine. But I didn't do anything differently apart from whatever I was told to do at that time. Yes.
As a young student, how do I build my risk appetite?
Very good question. As a young student, how do you build your risk appetite? I think, as I was saying, just create something early. Risk would come from, I think the risk comes from two parameters, which is basically the act of creating something that didn't exist in the world before you did it, and exposing it to lots of people who are giving, their feedback on it, which hurts and it hits very hard and develops you a lot. So I think just creating things early, whether it's a book, a YouTube channel, a poem, I don't know, whatever form it takes, creating things early is the most important.
If you want your own child to be like an entrepreneur, how would you train them, and what guarantees that success?
The guarantee of, to put the stats on an entrepreneurial success rate, only 10% of companies work, 90% will actually fail. Only 1% will be the 2100 crores or whatever numbers you tell of, it will be only 1%. The remaining 9% will be like having a job. You'll have the same outcome. So in a sense, entrepreneurial success rate in percentage is 91%, 99% will fail. But there is a beauty to this whole thing, which I think people don't realize, is that you as a person will succeed 100%. So what that means is if you go through an entrepreneurial journey, your chances of the business succeeding are 1%, but you succeeding in the terms of you growing tremendously from that experience is 100%. And then the next thing you do far better than what you would have done the previous time. And slowly you'll succeed at one point of life in a magnificent way. So what would I tell my kids? I would tell my kids to be creating things early and becoming entrepreneurs early. I was very late. I created my novel at 28. I created my company at 39. I should put everything 10 years forward. Because I think the greatest gift in life is to be able to shape the world in your vision, which happens to a creator, and which happens on you. But you won't fail, in the sense you'll fail 99%, but you'll also succeed 100%. It's the funny one.
So you say the younger you are, the higher the risk. Have you then?
Actually, it's a good question. They tell me the younger you are, the higher the risk. Actually, no, because I read about that. But things change, you know what I mean? Which is when I left my job to travel for a year, I was very, very nervous about that. Although I was single, no family, no kids, but I was very, very nervous about that. And then when I left my job to start a company 10 years later, when these guys were just about to go to school, I was nervous about different things. What would happen if who would pay their school fees? And then I was worried about who would pay my monthly rent. Nothing changes. The risk always remains. But I think you just have to be a person who takes the first plunge. I think it's like a muscle though. The muscle keeps getting stronger and stronger. So the first time you take a risk, you'll be very, very nervous. The fourth or fifth time you'll be like, okay, I'll do it again.
Thank you, dear audience, and once again, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bajaj,
My pleasure.
for your valuable time and input. training instructor with 13 years of experience as an air traffic controller. She completed her bachelor's degree in electronics and communication in 2008, and since 2010, she has been associated with the Airports Authority of India under the Ministry of Civil Aviation. I know many of you, myself included, are fascinated with airports and airplanes, and I can't wait to hear what our next speaker has to say. Do join me in welcoming Ms. Shilpa Rattan to the stage.
Flight, one of the greatest desire of mankind. And from the stories ranging from Peter Pan and fairies to our modern Marvel heroes, they all have one thing in common, the ability to fly. So that's how the first invention, the greatest invention of all time happened, aeroplane. And hence the birth of the industry of $3.75 trillion aviation. Good afternoon, parents, teachers, dignitaries, and my dear students. I am Shilpa Rattan and I am working as an air traffic controller at Manohar International Airport, Goa. So who are we? And why do you think it is needed? So this is the picture of Indian airspace at a given time and around a random day and a random time. So these many aircraft almost every time flows above our sky. Air traffic controller is literally the guiding voice of pilot orchestrating their movement into the sky. Without us flying in control airspace and getting pilot to their destination isn't possible. We help prevent collision, expedite traffic flow, give flight advice and coordinate for search and rescue when needed. We all must have taken a flight that is needed to reach our destination. A flight is how the flight is divided into the separate phases. The pre-flight and the takeoff phase is the phase when the airborne controller controls the aircraft. The journey begins when the airborne controller asks the aircraft for pushback and startup, and from there the ground controller takes a charge, taxis the aircraft up to the runway. Then comes the flying phase of the aircraft or the descent phase. These are the most crucial stage for an air traffic controller. Here we do not, the reason why it's crucial is because the aircraft doesn't maintain any level. To separate the aircraft when it is not a maintaining level is a hard job. And as far as the passenger is concerned, if any of you have felt the dizziness or weightlessness or the pain in the ear, is this phase of the flight where it all happens. After climbing, the flight attains a certain level that is almost not usually 30,000 feet above the mean sea level. And that is the time when the seatbelts signs are off and are able to come for further refreshment. This is the inside view of an air traffic control unit, that is tower of IGI Airport. Both pilot and ATC are bound by set of standard and recommended practices laid down by International Civil Aviation Organization, and Director General of Civil Aviation is what regulating it in India. An air traffic controller takes one decision and it is set to the pilot based on those equipments and facilities like radar, communication facility, automated lighting system, landing systems, and then it has been said to the pilot to follow the instructions. Communication with pilot are not generic and random in nature. their precise situation and situation-specific globally standard commands. It's here and it is known as radio telephony. Let us have a glimpse how it actually sounds like. This is 554 Interland 28 via Hawaii. This is 554 and the 28 we have to take off in 280 degrees 06 knots. After 6512 Mubata confirm ready for immediate departure behind departed Vistara C20. So ready for immediate departure. After 6512 enter line runway 28 via Alpha 5. Pleasure. Vistara 554 airborne 1513 contact approach radar 123.8 expedite passing 3000. This is 554 Mumbai, Interland runway 28 via Alpha 5. This is 554 runway 28 we have to take off in 280 degrees 06. This is 554 Mumbai, Interland. I mean, who will not like the job where it has the power to control the aircraft just like a video game? But like Uncle Ben said, lot of power comes lot of responsibility. So the profession of air traffic controller demands unwavering focus, split-second decision making to adapt to the ever-changing environment. And yes, it is not for the weak-hearted. It has a lot of stress. The environment is always dynamic, and one has to be really disciplined and committed towards the show. But then, how did I end up here? So that's how my story as an air traffic controller unfolds. We millennials have lived our childhood thinking of looking at the sky and looking at the aircraft vanishing in the sky. That's how it has been for all of us. For us, I think till the time I came into my graduation, I did not take my first flight. So for us, now, like, it is so easy to take a flight now, but it wasn't then at our times. So I belong to a family of engineers. I also completed engineering in 2008, and after that, I had a campus placement in Tech Mahindra, and since it was 2008, there was only offer letter and no joining date. So since till the time, all of my friends, and I was very happy because almost like half of our batch was into this, and we were expecting that this is how our life would be, all the friends will be there, and we'll be continuing our journey in our profession. But since there was an economic depression in 2008, my friends stayed back and they waited for the time when the thing will be over. But I joined in a very remote place of India, Rajasthan, Central Electronics Research Institute, Pilani, as a junior research fellow. There I have, within a very less time, I get into a project which was very important, and it's a project of DRDO, and I got through into it and developed a transmitter of a very high frequency which was supposed to be on the airborne missile of DRDO. And that's how I got my first award as a young scientist in 2009. At that time I felt that is my calling. I'm going to be here, I'm going to continue in the research institute, and I'll continue with working for these kind of things. And that's how I appeared for Scientist C selection in 2010. Along with that, I appeared for PSU examination. Then all of these PSUs, whether you call ONGC, IOCL, and BARC, everything, each and every organization had their separate entrance examination. Now it is all clubbed into and integrated with GATE. Earlier they were all separate. So I got through a few PSUs, but I could not clear BARC, and I was really disappointed. But I was devastated that everything is now over, and I won't be able to continue my scientific path as a scientist. So, but I joined Airport Authority of India along all the rest of the PSUs, And after 11 months of rigorous training and logging almost 100 hours with an instructor, in 2011, I was first able to take over a channel as an independent controller. And believe me when I say, till date, whenever that headset is on, the feeling and the adrenaline rush is exactly the same. So yes, looking back to whatever has happened in my career and how things have unfolded, there are a few things that I want to share. These are the takeaway from my experience. Reading. Read anything. Read books, comics, novels, everything. Whatever you want to, but read. It is skill, it takes time, and it takes time to actually develop these kind of skills. And it will help you in each and every field of every phase of your life. Like in maths and reasoning. Believe it or not, every examination you appear to, you have a quantitative examination paper, you'll have a reasoning set of paper. Every examination has it. And it is nothing but the grade 6 to 10 mathematics. If you today, we all have done this, we all were rushing for the answers to get right. If you today analyze the question and you actually see why the questions are asked like this, you will definitely do very good and it will take you a long way. Because all of the examinations ask the same question. They have all the same patterns, they have all the same kind of questions too. This is what they want to know from the student. Curiosity. Keep the fire of curiosity within burning all the time. Whether you like it, you don't like it, but be curious. It will help you in the situational awareness and also in the current affairs, which is definitely vastly in any field you choose, whether you choose arts, commerce or science, it's going to be the same. Last but not the least, never limit yourself. Never limit yourself in the name of your calling. There's nothing like that exists. Till that you don't know what your calling is unless and until you reach there. Once you reach there, you will decide that you finally want to do this in your life or you don't want to do it. So continue, do not limit yourself and keep hustling. Thank you.
A career in aviation. Now, doesn't that sound fascinating? Thank you, Ms. Radhan, for giving us your valuable perspectives. We'll open up the next round of questions for our audience. Do raise your hand and we will come to you.
Yes, good afternoon, Miss. My question for you is, what basic skills and temperaments does one require in this profession? And what would your advice be to those planning to choose this profession? Basic skill, as I said, that you have to first qualify the examination that is being conducted by Airport Authority of India. It has the same set of, you have English, you have quantitative and reasoning aptitude, and above that, you have your the test. These are the common examination papers that you say. These are the common sets of questions they ask for. And after that, you have to go for voice test. Voice test because at the end, it is all about communicating with pilots. So you should not be having any speech anomaly, no stammering or something. So you have to clear that. And there is third examination, that is ELPA, English Language Proficiency examination is there. For that, you have to be proficient in speaking in English, not writing. Speaking and listening, because you have pilots from different, they have different accents, they belong to different countries, so you will be able to comprehend what they are saying, and accordingly you have to control it.
We're running short of time, so we're restricted to just the one question for this round. Let's give Ms. Ratnan a round of applause. From Aviation Singh. Mr. Singh has over 28 years of experience in hospitality management and has worked with some of the key brands like Taj Hotels, Hyatt and Accor. Currently, he is working as a complex general manager of Novotel Goa Resort and Spa, Kambuli. With a career spanning many years in the hospitality industry, Mr. Singh brings to the table a profound understanding of his expertise in establishing and enhancing the reputation of renowned hotels and resorts. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do put your hands together and warmly welcome Mr. Singh.
I'm very delighted to be sorry, but the kind of questions you guys are asking, the level of questions, it gives me confidence from my daughter's perspective because she's studying in the church. So she's going to come out nice. I am representing hospitality right now to all you young men. I'm sure you all have been to hotels. I don't think any one of you here has not been to a hotel. Anyone who has not been to a hotel can lift his hand. So very simple. So everyone, I'm sure, has visited a hotel, forget which category of hotel it was, or restaurant it was. So, I'm keeping this very natural because it's one of the very engaging and efficient interaction because hospitality is all about engagement. So I didn't come to the presentation, I was not prepared for the presentation, so pardon me for that. But to start with, I'll just start with a small story of my life, journey, how it started and how I landed up here, how 28 years have passed and I don't know how many more years to go on. So I started, I'm a kid of 80s, so like Karan was speaking earlier, the landscape was pretty different at that time. The career options were very limited. India was still a mixed economy, it still is, but only conditions to do well in studies, right? Join an IT, join a college, engineering college or a medical college, but then do some kind of econ or do a CA, a banker, or join something like public sector or government jobs. Those are the options left at that. And Mr. Manmohan Singh and P. Narasimha Rao, they opened the economy, and now we are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So, I'm a kid of 80s. I'm an access business original. Access business by Mr. Finance Minister. So, I was not conditioned to be a hotelier. I did my BCom from Mangalore University. But didn't get at that time. And I wanted to join the Indian Armed Forces at that time. My father is from the Air Force. A lot of my relatives and part of the Indian Armed Forces. Army, Air Force, or Navy. My father himself used to fly to the Indian Air Force at that time. He participated in sea wars for years. So very inspired, looking at people in uniform, right? The language of fighter pilots, the cheap suits, the helmets with the visor, the Raymond glasses, and you didn't have much career options. So, like any young kid at that time, I wanted to be that, and I tried my best at that, I didn't succeed. After 3 passing on, I failed. So, in service selection board, and I was sitting at home one fine day in Bangalore, where I come from, and my brother came in with a newspaper. My elder brother working at Bangalore at that time. Karan would be happy with the same college. So here's an eye in Bangalore, he said, you're wasting your time, put it on platform, Deccan 100. You've got inviting management training at Taj Hotels. Right. But I don't have any education. I've not done any hotel management at that time. Because Atithi Deva Baba, it's not about culture. Indians, someone comes to your house, your mother tells you to get water for that person. Guest. So it's just as simple as that. You can't go wrong with that. So I went for interviews. Very well. I just wanted to go there and have a cup of tea. They were offering at that time some snacks. So I went there to interview. There were around 2,000 people standing there. That shows the job market at that time. About 8 or 9 positions. And after seeing the interview, I started my career. So I started my life as a management training in south of the country, Bangalore, as a management training in Taj Hotels, Bangalore. Taj Restaurant was the first, and the various regions and foreign hotels, and after I was foreign hotels, housekeeping, culinary, right? Culinary management, information, front desk. So plenty of verticals behind it. I opted for the because foreign hotels you could get more people. at the end of it. So that was my motivation to write. So I joined Pune College and Taj Group for Hotels and Management Training, and my journey began. So at that point, I worked there for 3 years. I was a restaurant manager. I don't know how you look at it now, but those days were a very big thing. Be a restaurant manager. Subsequently, I went to United States to pursue my career there. It was with a cruising company called Royal Caribbean Cruises, if you have heard of it. You would think the graduates from that, with no kind of engineering degree at that time or medical degree when it was in the early 1990s. And I went there. I sailed for 2 years with Royal Caribbean on one of the ships called Enchanted of the Seas. And later on wanted to come back to India because the growth story of India always attracted me, I think. I think we have a lot of potential here and there's a lot of potential, a lot of improvement. So I came back to India and started my career again with Taj Group at Bombay, at Taj Mahal Motor, Palace Taj, which is heard of that motor, which was infamously attacked in President Saddam at that time. So, and my wife was also there, the board was stuck for some time there. Subsequently, I joined the Hyatt International Hotel in Bombay and Taj Lamps and Dancer, which is an iconic hotel. I worked there as a program director for many years, followed by number 2 to the general manager of the hotel and the GM of the hotel for 2 years. And then I was given an opportunity to be sent to Bangalore, Goa at this time, and took up the responsibility of Taj Holiday Inn and Taj Purvadara, which I said. Currently, I manage the Accor Express. Accor is a company which is a French company, hospitality company, with 42 brands. They invest in Goa. So I look after that. We currently have 5 hotels, 50 more hotels opening up in Goa. Very shortly, industrial and economy hotels. So this is a journey been. So I think it's a very uncomplicated industry. If you take it further, what I've learned is, like I said, I'm actually in the life. I know a plan, a design thinking method. So that's a key towards it's taken me places, make me learn. Every day you learn because the engagement, interaction with other people makes you learn. There's never a situation which is the same in hospitality. It's not a manufacturing. When you do it, then you do a standard output. Right? The process are defined. And in hospitality, you're engaging your customers every minute of your life. You're walking to them, you're talking to them, and human behavior you can see it every day. So I think hospitality is very complicated and it's a kind of focus business at the end of it. So you've got to be value addition to the stakeholders, the promoters, the company which manages it. So it's complex to that level to do a lot of small transactions and try to get value out of it and try to make it right. So it has its own ups and downs. It is very sensitive in relation to the economy. Before to the pandemic as well, because hospitality was one of the industries which was majorly affected across the globe. Right? So it came back with a lot of engines, good for us, but it is sensitive, so you need to have a lot of understanding of people management of the people. To manage people, you have to have very clear values, personal values, very strong with those values, and those values will make sure that you succeed. You have to keep your open-mindedness in this industry. Common sense applicability is far more important in this industry. Right? You need to take decisions every minute of your life, however small or big it is. Right? So decision making skills development happens over a period of time. Once you understand what is right and what is wrong. And for me, I take decisions from my heart. Because at least my conscience is clear. Everything is first. Obviously, and I think gain value from that becomes a key angle to it. And that is simplify. That is what we do. We look at people, we handle situations of people, right? We try to create customized experiences and make money for everyone. So as simple as that. I think any questions, anything anyone has, please do let me know.
So, how do you think the future of your industry right now? It will change, and how do you prepare for this industry? And also, where do you see your industry in 10 to 15 years?
I think hospitality is the oldest that has been. Right? It's always been there. Absolutely, Goa, like I said, is right from the river, from the only thing we're charging for it now, even more. So the landscape has changed, there's no doubt about it. Since I started, it was more of operational, right? Now it's basically driving positioning. So the total definition of the industry is the question, what do you mean by 5-star, 4-star, 3-star? Why do you look at Starbucks as a brand, or Ritz-Carlton as a brand, or Taj, Hyatt Home as a brand? Right? The brands would be brands. So you need to understand that. The Taj Hotel will also give you a roof, the Oyo will also give you a room. Right? Oyo will give you for one time. But why would you pay for Taj, not a Oyo room? So the landscape is changing. Like if you're trying to ask you a question, it's changing and you need to be aware of it. You need to have some kind of picture idea. What kind of consumer behavior? There's a lot of research there goes into consumer behavior in our industry and even spending patterns, buying a quality product, right? But the consumer behavior certainly is changing. What we see post-pandemic, so consumption has gone up. Then in Goa, I can give you a small figure. The average one family from Delhi or Bombay, they will come once a year to Goa, not become monthly family. Right? So the requirement is going up. So just to give you a number which I was quoting, post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, and post-pandemic, there was an increase of 30% of the same room rate and cocktail. So that's value addition right there. Right? So it's changing, it's evolving. When I started, it was operations, it was F&B service, it was housekeeping. It's still there, that is the core of the business. But hotel management, positioning, analytical, has become a slightly upper hand. This is a revenue manager calling me. So, it was a Goa region. It's a testimony that revenue is very important. Today, Patna, it was the afternoon service, So, I think to answer your question, it's evolving and we need to be observed. We're trying to understand the competition, the consumer behavior, the landscape, what is happening globally, and also geopolitical situation, geoeconomic situation.
We restrict the questions to just one for this round. If there are any more, we can have them at the end of the sessions in the field of finance. Mr. Vinod Madathil has expertise of over 2 decades in the financial services domain, mainly that of equity investments, portfolio management, and lending. He did his master's in business management, specializing in finance. Mr. Madathil worked with HDFC for 8 years in various roles. In 2010, he left a well-established corporate career to pursue life as an independent investor in stocks. He then became a chartered financial analyst in 2013 and also joined a wealth management startup in Bangalore as a founding member. He is currently an equity investment consultant. Do join me in warmly welcoming Mr. Vinod Madathil.
My career is not what she told. This is my career. I am into treasure hunt. I am sure most of you will be interested in this. Let's see what it's all about in a minute. Before that, we will analyze the expression of someone you all know. Who's he? Yeah, so why is he having that expression? He's saying something. He's saying compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. scientist interested in finance. And he says, he who knows it earns it, and who doesn't pays. Right? Interesting. We'll find out what he means. You guys know him? Know them rather? Anyone? Yeah. Huh? Yeah? Armin, right. So, this is an example of compounding. So let's assume they are both 15 years old. So they both decided to save some money. By the time they become 35, they had some dreams, maybe to start a company, go around the world. So Armin is a little more stable as a long-term vision. So he told, I'll save 5,000 every month for the next 20 years. By the time I reach 35, I'll have some savings. Eric was a little more flashy. So he told, I won't save for next 10 years. To 25, I want to party, have fun. After that, I'll save double the amount. I'll save 10,000 every month, and I'll save for 10 years. So I'll catch up with you. And after 20 years, when they are 35, what happens? Armin has 16 million rupees, Eren has 3.8 million, less than 1/4. Why? Both of them invested the same amount, right? So this is what Einstein meant, compounding. The first guy, Armin, compounded for 20 years, though he invested only 5,000, right? So that led him to have 16 million. I'm assuming a 20% return rate annually, which is what many mutual funds gave in the last 20 years. So an optimistic scenario. This is what compounding does to you if you start early. The point is start early and invest for a long period of time. So where is the treasure? So this is where I have been interested in. I left my job and I got really fascinated with how businesses grow. And India being a young country with so many businessmen, established businesses, so I went around searching for my treasure. In the last 10 years, 700 companies have grown their stock price 10 times. There are around 4,000, 3,800, 4,000 companies, maybe around 2,500 which are fairly large, more than 100 crore market cap. Out of them, around 700 grew 10 times in the last 10 years. A lot of pressure out. Around 450 grew 20 times. So 1 lakh invested 10 years before would become 20. And around 200 grew 50 times. 1 lakh invested in 2013 would become 50 lakhs now. A lot of people are interested now. So you know some of these companies, TVS, the bikes that you see around, Bajaj Finance, they call up every other day, they give loans for anything you want. Rather than buy a TV, they give you a loan. Astral, you may have seen the boats, the water we get in our houses, they flow through Astral pipes or the commutator. Safari, you've seen the trolley bags. So after 6,000 years, after a man invented wheels, somebody decided to put wheels under the suitcase. These guys have made a business out of it. Right? So stock price grew 50 times. Saregama, you heard about it? Every time you listen to a song in Instagram, you make a reel, YouTube, Spotify, if it is under their portfolio, they get a commission. Every time you listen to it or use it for making a reel. That's their business model. They grew 50 times. Avanti feeds, when you eat shrimps, prawn, when you go to a restaurant and order for shrimp, Avanti feeds make the feed that the shrimp ate to become big. Is it a big deal? Why did this business grow so much? It's a highly technical product. The shrimp can die if the pH level of the water is, they have more than 50% market share. That's why they grew. So all these are interesting businesses which was doing something special. So the treasure is to be dug out. You need to find out if somebody is doing something special. Yeah? The obvious question, right? Why didn't you tell us before? You and I couldn't find all of them. Some of them I could find out. And it's a continuous journey, right? You keep searching for the treasure. So why is it difficult? Stock picking is not just a science. You can do all the number crunching, go through the balance sheets, profit and loss statements, go through the charts. But there is a judgment that has to be made based on a lot of probabilistic scenarios. That's why it's difficult. It involves deep research. You need to study each business in and out. You need to go through their annual reports, their presentations, go meet them if possible, visit their factory, meet the competitor, meet the customers, meet the suppliers. So whatever research you can do, you should do to understand the business as much as possible, because you are trying to predict the future, right? So you need to understand why this company will do well, why their products will sell in future, what are the competitors doing, why will they succeed, who are the people running the show, how good are they, how ambitious are they. So a lot of questions to be answered. So you need to do a lot of deep research, keep collecting information, analyze it, connect the dots. So that's what you do. It's a jigsaw puzzle. I left the STFC job because it was good. I'm not telling you. It was a lot of man management, operations, multitasking. I found the stocks part fascinating because each week you are studying a new company. This week I might be an expert in chemicals, next week I'm an expert in pharma, next week I'm an expert in IT. So I can choose what to study, do at my own pace. It's intellectually engaging. You know Warren Buffett, right? You guys would have heard, one of the richest guys, he's an investor. He's 93 years old. I think he's as good as before. Because his brain is always working, thinking, analyzing. I think that could be one of the reasons. And just like the compounding part in money, even the knowledge keeps compounding here. The more you research, the more you read, the more you connect the dots, the more you see patterns in certain businesses, certain leaders who run the show, you see patterns. There is no risk of getting outdated. You don't have to learn the latest software language or do the latest course. It's like wine, right? You get better and better. You can pursue multiple industries. The initial part of your investment journey, becoming an investor, you will have to spend a lot of hours. But as you go forward, you will need less and less time. Right? Because you would have covered a lot of sectors, a lot of companies, you might be already understanding how a bank works. So you don't have to do from scratch for each new story you go through. And maybe 10-15 years, you might have covered most of the companies. Then you just have to go through the latest, what is happening around that. Can be done part-time as well, but it's very tough. Wherever there is net commission, you can do it. Wherever in the world. Mostly you are reading, right? You have to go to, you have to attend conference calls, do a lot of reading. So, you may say it's for everyone, but it's not easy. Why is it not easy? I'll come to it later. So, you need basic math and accounting to analyze businesses, to look at their balance sheets and all that and all this stuff. So, basic math and accounting is required. You need an interest in research. You're going to sit for hours and hours. You're going to get lost in that world. So you should have that kind of interest to sit and do the research. To invest your mindset and just briefly cover it. You have to be really curious and rational at the same time. Observe everything around you. You might be using certain products. Like you go to Domino's or Pizza. If you're curious, you think about their business model. And it's a listed company. It's called Like Foodworks, not called Domino's. Right? So you might be interested, you might find out how much profit they're making, how they're growing, how many stores will they have, how many stores will they add every year. Right? Is it a good business? What is the competition? So then you come to a thesis. If this business is good, then you do the valuation. I'm not getting into valuation now at all. So separate topic altogether. Very difficult to be a contrarian, right? You are going against the natural human instincts in many cases. Herd mentality is something which is always there. Your fight in this journey is against yourself. The mindset that you have, the shortcuts your mind takes, there are a lot of prejudices that are working against you. You'll have to learn after each mistake and go ahead. That's the only way to do it. I've highlighted patience and temperament because it's not about intelligence, it's more about temperament. There's a career path, suggested one. If you are really interested and you're looking forward to it, this is a journey that you can take. You can do a degree in commerce, BBM or economics. So these subjects will help you in understanding business and analyzing those. You can do your post-graduation in business management, and then you can do your CFA. So to do CFA, you have to be a graduate in any one of the. It doesn't matter BBM, BBA, you can do anything, and then do CFA. CFA is Chartered Financial Analyst. It's an exam that you have to give. There are 3 levels. It's conducted globally, so you'll be competing with global students at the same time. There are 3 levels. So out of 100 people who give level 1, only 5 come out to level 3. You will take many years in each level. So you can give multiple times the exams. CFA is a gold standard in finance and it is recognized world over. Then you can start your career as a financial analyst. Investor, you can become whenever you want. Everyone can become. You don't need any of these to become an investor. I have a doctor friend who is an investor full time and he left his job. He was working in a government hospital in Baroda. Now he's a full time investor. Right? So you don't need any of these, but these will help in fastening your journey. You will know things better. This will help. You can become a fund manager in any of the funds, mutual funds, private equity funds. You would have heard about all this. If you do all this, you're qualified, you can join as an analyst, you can become a fund manager, you can become an investment banker, you can become a CFO of large companies. These are the options you have, and anytime you can leave and become a full-time investor. So you have the skill set for it. Okay. Now we end with another scientist. Who's this? Huh? Yeah. So why did he say this? He tried to become an investor, and he said this. Any guesses? Investment is not easy, and Isaac Newton found out the hard way. You know what happened? There was a company called South Sea, Britain. It became a monopoly in shipping due to some regulatory changes, and people became mad investing in that. So Mr. Newton invested, he doubled his money, he exited. But then he saw all his friends are making more money, stock is still going up. Right? That's what we see. Newton exits happy, friends are getting richer and richer, Newton loses his sleep, he gets it at the peak with all the money he had, and then the bubble crashed. He exited broke. It's not easy. It's very easy to make the stock market a casino for yourself and lose all the money. You have to be really careful. Right? So I end my presentation there.
I've always been fascinated with finance, and this afternoon, Mr. Marathil, I'm sure you've piqued not just mine, but the interest of so many in the audience. Before we wrap up for the day, let's have a few more questions from the audience.
Is greed a good thing in the world of stock markets? Is greed a good thing in the world of stock markets?
Yes.
So depends how you define it. So this company which I invested in for Kaveri Seed, they make hybrid seeds which are mostly for cotton growers. So we did the basic, we met the farmers, we met the dealers, we met the competitors, we understood they are doing something special and the new seed is getting launched. So conviction level was very, very high that point of time. And I was just beginning years of my journey. So I invested 80% of the portfolio in one single stock, which is madness. And all my seniors, the investment circle, they're mad at me. We worked, okay, but we worked because I was lucky. Could have gone wrong. So that decision maybe was because of greed. That is one. Secondly, when you do all the work and your conviction is high, you should also have the courage to invest a little more. Maybe 15% of the portfolio. It will depend on your conviction level and how much work you have done. So there's a thin line between greed and courage. You do all the work, have the courage to take a bigger bet, but know where to stop.
We'll now open the floor to questions that you'd like to address to even the other speakers. So students, if you have any questions, parents as well.
I have a question. Talk for the next 10
Mr.
years.
Vinod, what's the worst and best part of your career?
I can point out one moment. I can say it's a life of regrets. You buy a stock, it goes up, you regret that you didn't put more money. It goes down, you end a regret. Right? And then you sell it, you made good profit, but after 1 week you find it is 20% higher. Right? More regret. This is the life of regrets. You need to manage that. I wouldn't say that is bad, but it is an emotional journey that you go through. Market will keep testing you, bring your ego down. Every time you think that you are a master, it will bring you down. So that is the journey. The best part is the freedom that you get. I've already covered it. You are your own master. It is also kind of a spiritual journey. You are discovering yourself. You know all this turmoil that you go through. I lost my hair. So I think it's after marriage, but
your occupation.
COVID was one downside to realize. Very obvious because when I joined this industry, we never had this concept of shutter down. It's not a dukan that you set that, put the shutter down. But our industry, unfortunately, hospitality, tourism, travel, largely was totally zero. So selling through those days were very difficult, but I would say downside is usually the time it consumes. From your mind, but nowadays there's a lot of concepts like work-life balance is coming to our industry also. In my initial days, it was like you could work maximum. So at a time I worked 72 hours plus sleep, right? But there's a lot of positives as well. So in addition to making money on the side with remote, what you can do is you get to meet a lot of people. Like in my journey for the past 28 years, I have access to Lord Major, then the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Devagoda was the Prime Minister of India. You need a lot of security clearance to move to that. And fortunately, I got that because of my different background. Atal Bihari Vajpayee 4 times. I flew with him as well, a couple of times. Then for Prime Minister Manmohan Singh twice. And Narendra Modi, I handled the BRICS in Goa. In 2016, the BRICS happened and as the retired, we had 5 head of state to cater to. So those are positives. In addition to a lot of positive thinkers, celebrities, A-listers in industry like Ratan Tata, I have met more than 100 times. Great learning, right? Great visionary. Mr. Ambani himself, both the Ambani brothers, Dhirubhai himself, I was young at that time, but you would speak to you for 2 minutes, even that is learning. So name it Anand Mahindra, Narayan Murthy, Arvind Joshi, all the team, industries of the country, or which is Bollywood. Abhilash wedding, I am part of it and I attended that way back in Bombay in 2006 in the house in it was 1 year 1 week program. So I was the coordinator for that from the hospitality side and execution part of it. So I catered to that. So we made a show. Another thing very much. We have number of Mr. Harish Salve also myself. Who's that got married again the first time. But, yeah. So these are some soft benefits. So brother who's CSP, I think he has a own financial company called Two in Hyderabad. He gets very odd with us that you meet all the people. I think he has currently my wife is taking care of that G20 meeting in Delhi. She's part of the ITC team and one of the friends in terms of bilateral meetings between Joe Biden and the various head of states. So she's taking care of that and in her memory she has 3 presidents of America, single photograph with her. So she's waiting for the 4th one now. So these are the things, but hard work, sincere hard work, lot of time consumption, lot of irritation I would say because it happens in all the industry, but here human behavior is something that we need to do. So 360 degrees surrounded the human behavior. You can't actually, it's a very difficult question. You need to be in a situation to come up with an answer. And I would say it's only your attitude which saves you. Very complicated to answer to a short question, but there are a lot to say in this situation. Thanks. We need much more time for that. So you need to answer some basic questions. Why would this business do well in future? For that you need to study what the product is, the competitive landscape. Who is running the show? Will this management execute whatever we are promising? Again, it's a very subjective thing. You need to meet them, hear the interviews, read the history, annual reports of the last 10 years, find out what they said they'll do 10 years back, what did they end up doing. You find a track record, you put in your mind. Valuation is again an art. You need to think, is it cheap? If it's cheap, why is it cheap? Will it change in future? Will the market give it a different, will they look at this company with a different perspective? So all those are difficult questions which need a very detailed answer. But you can maybe start by looking around and seeing which businesses are going around you. Right? I set a few examples here, Astral Pipes, Domino's, you would have seen many brands around you, so that's a good starting point. You might realize that you're using some products much more than earlier. So then think about it. Go check their website, read up, find out what is happening there.
Come forward and share her thoughts on the event and the various sessions. Thank you, speakers, for that very insightful experiences you did share with us, and I kept on making notes like the teacher I am. So we have 3 speakers here. So when ma'am spoke about air traffic control, I said, oh gosh, that's so stressful. Because every time I take a flight, I always look out the window saying, I hope there's another plane coming from that side. I look out the side. I've seen so many movies and I'm really scared going out there. So now I know, we have wonderful people like you doing a fabulous job. So yes, take all the opportunities that are available. There is no gain, I think, without pain and effort. Yes, there's stress along the way, but when your job is, when you see the outcomes at the end of the day, it really makes it worthwhile. Yes, math practice. So grade 6 to 9, a lot of math practice. That's what I take away. So probably we'll be going for a lot of more higher level math. Reading, language. Yes, build curiosity to your subjects and never limit yourself. I was always fascinated with the hospitality industry, but I know it's all the glamour and the glitz. I was just talking to Ms. Shitran Singh, yes, but there's a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes to make a hotel successful. But yes, from so I learned take the plunge. I love this what you said, clear personal values, have values, because good values will help you succeed in life. Know what your customer or stakeholders need, and I think that's good enough. Understand the landscape and people management. And of course, finance is definitely not one of my strong cup of tea. It's one on the lighter note. But yes, research, up-to-date information, read, learn. Did you say learn after every error or mistake? You said something, yeah. So these are the lessons I think all of us have taken away. I think you must have heard something else from a different perspective. But yes, thank you so much. So let's put our hands together for these 3 wonderful speakers. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your feedback and input. Thank you to all our wonderful speakers for Explorations 2023. We are truly indebted to you for taking time out of your busy schedule and educating and inspiring our young minds. As a small token of our gratitude and appreciation, I call upon our dear students to kindly hand over mementos to our esteemed speakers.